All right. Thanks, Carmen. Welcome everyone to our final Habitat Council meeting for this funding cycle in 2025. I'm Eric Edgley. I'm the Habitat Section Chief and Chair of the Council, and I'm glad you're all here. Thanks for participating all year long. I'll apologize for not being here last time. I was out of the country and enjoying my time in Italy. So
rub it in. The meeting went really well.
Yeah, that's what I hear. And so along with that, I appreciate Danny. He's online with us today. Danny filling in. He's done this before, and so I appreciate him filling in for me for both this meeting and the ECP meeting and helping those run well. So I appreciate his help. Also, thanks to Allison, Daniel, Lisa, for helping us out, getting this going and helping this whole process work throughout the year. And we're also grateful to the AV team that helps us out. Gets our meeting streamed and coordinated that way too. Our first item of business is to approve the minutes from our previous meeting and the voting that occurred there. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Okay, motion from Randy. The second from Blake. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Okay, so motion passes. Okay, our next item of business, we have Zachary Oman from our northern region who's online with us today to present another habitat management plan. And I'll just say we've got a flurry of habitat management plans that have been going through because we've been emphasizing that these need to get done. Danny's really worked with staff to funnel them along and get them through the process. And we appreciate all of the time that you spend reviewing, critiquing, helping us make them better. And it's much appreciated. So with that, we have the Swan Creek Wildlife Management, Habitat Management, Wildlife Management Area, HMP, I'll say that. And Zach, you're online, ready for that?
Yep. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, remember to introduce yourself and go ahead and
Okay.
Let's have it.
So my name is Zach Oman. I'm a habitat biologist here in the northern region. This is going to be a quick presentation on the Swan Creek Wildlife Management Area Habitat Management Plan update. So the Swan Creek WMA is located in Rich County, approximately 3 miles north of Garden City, up on the west bench above the Bear Lake shoreline. It consists of 672 acres, and it was purchased by the division in 1988, primarily acquired to protect crucial winter range habitat for mule deer, elk, and moose. So the main purpose for the division ownership of a WMA is to preserve and protect crucial big game habitat, minimize wildlife depredation on nearby private lands, and provide hunting and fishing opportunities to the public. The importance of the Swan Creek WMA grows each year as the surrounding lands and habitats are developed, as well as the Swan Creek itself is an important spawn location for the Bear Lake cutthroat trout. So the WMA ownership and the water rights owned by the division ensure that the cutthroat have a place to spawn each year. The wildlife species you can expect to find on the WMA, primary species are going to be mule deer, elk, moose, Bear Lake cutthroat trout. Secondary species, upland game birds, raptors and songbirds, cougars, bears, bobcats, coyotes, and foxes. So the Swan Creek Wildlife Management Area provides year-round habitat for many species, and it consists of curleaf mountain mahogany, woodland, and shrubland. It's curleaf mountain mahogany dominant with an understory of bitterbrush, serviceberry, mountain snowberry, and mountain big sagebrush. There's one range trend site established on the WMA back in 1990, and that's monitored on a 5-year rotation. Noxious weeds are present and sprayed annually. So in order for the division to be in compliance with state code, it requires that all of our WMAs have a habitat management plan prepared for them. And in this process, we invite interested members of the public and local government to participate in the planning process. And we complete a review process before plan approval. The WMA's previous habitat management plan was completed in 2015, so we're kind of right at that 10-year mark of updating the plan. So a habitat management plan is going to contain a description of the property, an explanation of how the WMA will be managed, all relevant goals and objectives, and the strategies that will be used. The management goals for the Swan Creek WMA are mainly to preserve and enhance and protect big game winter range and wintering wildlife, reduce depredation on surrounding private lands, and provide that hunting and fishing opportunity to the public. The Swan Creek WMA Habitat Management Plan aligns with the goals and objectives and strategies of various plans, including the Utah Wildlife Action Plan, the DWR Strategic Plan, Wildlife Species Management Plans, and state and county resource management plans. So the main management challenges to this WMA are largely related to the increase in development around the WMA and just the Bear Lake area in general. These main challenges we've had are boundary issues with adjacent landowners. There's been a huge increase in year-round public use of the WMA, resulting in disturbing and displacing wildlife during those crucial winter months, and then just other annual operations and maintenance. So the management strategies for the WMA are to maintain sagebrush and mountain shrub habitats, control noxious weeds, improve water availability for wildlife, mitigate fire risks through the implementation of the wildland-urban interface fuel breaks, restricting land use activities, so motor vehicle restrictions and seasonal closures, and maintaining quality Bear Lake cutthroat trout spawning habitat. So within a habitat management plan, you're going to have an access management plan. And the purpose of that is to ensure that the public access and use of the WMA is done in a manner that assists the DWR in achieving the goals and objectives outlined in the habitat management plan. Due to the close proximity to Bear Lake, the Bear Lake shoreline, Garden City, just all the residential development that's happening around the WMA, we have noticed and are experiencing some access issues with the WMA. Again, a lot of this is just resulting to the increase of year-round public use of the WMA. So things we've been seeing are user-created trails and spur roads, trash dumping, dogs disturbing wildlife, and just overall an increase in activities that have been damaging habitat. So in order to support the division's ownership of the WMA and the management and goals and objectives of the WMA, the access management plan will require that the WMA is closed to all motorized vehicles and that there's a seasonal closure for all public access from December 1st to May 1st. And with that, that's my quick presentation on the update of the Swan Creek Wildlife Management Area Habitat Management Plan. And I will take any questions if you guys have any.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate that. Any questions from the council?
I've got one concern. I hate to see these WMAs closed to walking in. Just becomes a predator pit for, we're supposed to be protecting deer and can't go on there and coyote hunt. Killed a lot of coyotes on that WMA. Killed lions on that WMA. Now I can't go in there, so our deer just can get slaughtered. Just a concern I have, Zach.
Yeah, that's a fair concern. I guess it's just, one of those things we need to consider as a trade-off. It really is surprising how much use it gets up there during the winter with dog walkers and snowshoers and stuff like that. So I don't know, that's definitely a trade-off to consider, and I understand that concern for sure.
Couldn't you basically just make it so I know the reasons why we closed those to back in, but couldn't you just make it so that only walk-in hunters have access to it? I mean, isn't it spring turkey stuff? Isn't that an issue as well for?
Starts in April.
Yeah, we when considering that seasonal closure, we did think about the turkey opportunity. Talking with folks in the region, we didn't see that as a huge concern. If it was something, we needed to address in the future in terms of like like we have other WMAs where you can access the WMA during the closure if you have a cow tag kind of a thing. So yeah, we did recognize that might be an issue with the spring turkey season. There are turkeys in the area. I don't know that there's a whole bunch on the WMA, but we did have that discussion.
I bet you said there are a lot of turkeys on there when you're asking for some of these findings. But I'm going to commend you because there's a lot of development starting to go up around this. And I've been saying the whole time, we've got to stop our WMAs from becoming recreation lands. And I know, it's going to impact some predator hunting and stuff, but
Cow
This-
out, turkey,
this is,
chucker.
there's no, I mean, you're not hunting big game up there during those close periods.
Yeah, you are.
But well, even if it is, I'm all for this. We can't have our WMAs become recreation. Have it, and it'll never become a Timpanogos because it's not the population center. But I'll guarantee every one of these homeowners that are bordered up along this think it's their private playground. And this is, I'm tickled that you guys, that a pretty hard stance has been taken on this. There's a little bit of trade-off, I get it. But this is a wintering range. We don't want the animals disturbed during the winter. So I think you did a great job.
Kobe, you got a comment?
Yeah, I do. I don't want to talk over Randy though. Randy, are you done?
I'm done. Yep.
Okay. I am super supportive of limiting access on our WMAs. I have a couple questions. One is this an area where is it inside the county level that requires a license to get on and off or not?
It is not. No, you're talking with the new bill that passed.
Yeah, so this one will not be required. So Cache County is not big enough, I guess, to hit that threshold.
This is technically Rich County, but
Oh, Rich County, sorry. Yeah, okay, then it's definitely not gonna hit that threshold. The other thing is I've been personally involved when we have highly visible lions killing deer. And the Cache, it hasn't been that many years ago that it was more of a predator pit. And because of a few sportsmen, things have changed up there to where we're doing well and the deer are doing well. But I actually agree, if we can find a way to do both, I would prefer that. If we can find a way to close it, unless you have a reason to be there, and maybe it's even an invitation by the division to harvest a lion or something like that. But what we get into then is like, I don't think we want to be paying for predator harvest on all these with UDAF. And so it gets a little bit tricky when we have people that are willing to do it. And so I would encourage the region to take another look at this and see if there's a way, because I'm in Randy's camp and I'm in Steve's camp is what I'm trying to say. Like I get it. I don't want people up there walking their dogs. I don't. And I also we bought these with sportsman's dollars. It's primarily a big game WMA, winter range WMA, and I want to make sure that we're getting the antlerless harvest we need, and I want to make sure that we're getting the predator control work that we need as well. So take that for what it's worth, which probably isn't a lot, but if there's a way to do both, we should find it.
No, I think this is good feedback. I mean, there are other areas that have similar issues. And
And-
we've
and-
discussed it before, but it's not to say that we shouldn't continue to discuss it and maybe figure something out.
Eric, to be honest, the other areas that have these issues that's what's given us a black eye in the past. I mean, I'm basing my comments based on past experiences with these types of closures, and I also don't want it to be a free for all. So if there's a way to land in the middle, let's try to find it.
I
Well,
wonder if there's an avenue maybe with a special use permit process maybe or something, I don't know, but
It's not that easy.
yeah.
I don't think you need to get that crazy. I think you just need to put some verbiage in there that restricts it to all walk-in access except for hunting and fishing or something like that.
Boy, that's,
Yeah, I think
I'm gonna put my little danger in my pocket and walk up there and let my dog run around.
I mean,
And it's
Yeah.
just, it's,
I don't know. I don't know if that's that big of an issue.
I-
People
well, I
try
think
to
we
keep
discussed
this-
that, and I think it is an issue.
I'd at least like to see it like Millville, Zach, January 1 to second Saturday in April, so we don't miss out on the turkey hunting and the cow elk hunting. I know my wife's killed cow elk up there, and I know that's a big spot. It's one of the only public spots right there that you can get up and access easily.
Good feedback. I appreciate that. So, any other questions for Zach or comments? Okay,
Yeah, I
Hey,
have one
Zach.
more comment for Zach.
Oh.
Zach, I feel like we paint you in an impossible position, and this happens a lot. And I don't want you to take this as like we feel like you've done a bad job. Like I hope you know that that's not what's coming out of this, and the Habitat Council being a little bit critical. Like you can hear Randy. Like, we want you to protect these areas. It may even be something as simple as by division invitation on predators, and be a little bit flexible on cow elk. Those would be like, if you have a cow elk permit, that one's easy because you have to have a permit. And then for predators, it may be when the division deems necessary, they may ask hunters to do predator control work or harvest predators in the area. And so it's not a free for all, and we control the access. So, all right, I'm done.
no, thanks for that, Kobe. I'm not taking this in any way other than just a good conversation and constructive criticism. And
yeah, it's a larger discussion. It's not about Swan Creek per se. This is a bigger discussion about overall management processes. So I appreciate it. But anything else for Zach? Zach, good job.
thank you. Appreciate the time this morning, guys.
exactly.
Yep. All right. Yeah, Swan Creek's a good property. Like that. Okay, appreciate the comments and conversation on that. Okay, the next item on our agenda is one of the purposes of our council to is that we review and approve projects that have ECP money that are put on them that haven't gone through some other process like WRI. And so with that, on the second page of the agenda, there was a list of projects that didn't go through or review through another process. And so hopefully you all had some time to look at those. Are there any questions on any of those projects that received some funding from the external conservation permit meeting a couple, 3 weeks ago?
These were all fully funded, right?
Fully funded projects.
I'm curious on everybody's opinion on the wildlife silhouettes one.
It was only $2,000.
It's a great target though.
Exactly the comment I heard in ECP.
Right?
The bottom one, the wildlife silhouettes.
Are there any pictures with that one?
I mean, they looked good, but.
There's actually one of them, one of them
Yeah.
is inside the Northern Region office. I was just there for meeting Monday and I laughed when I came in and I saw it like, there's the target.
Well, they brought it to the ECP meeting too. Visually.
Yeah,
for the
it's
first time.
it's a bit of an experiment. It helps to remind people that there are deer in the area and to watch out and try not to kill deer on the highway. It is really the intended target. It's not so much we're in the art business.
But they
We're in
did bring
the-
the artist.
But we were in the business. It was designed for free, I think it was a high school or something like that.
Weaver State kid.
Weaver State kid, that's what it was. And I think
I'd like
a
to-
lot of these were delivered to us for free too.
And Sportsman's dollars paid for it, so it's not coming out of our pocket. It wasn't very much, but
Yeah.
Maybe it'll help remind people.
I mean, yeah.
That's the idea, that it helps remind people that there are deer in the areas they're driving through and to be mindful of that.
And maybe it, a decent looking art piece is gonna grab people's attention better than just a big yellow sign. It's what I've always understood about this kind of stuff is people get to the point where they've seen it so much that they ignore it. Like the flashing light stuff that we talk about.
That's what I was gonna say, is how often are these gonna get moved? Because if they're just there in the same spot all the time, drivers are gonna get used to it.
Problem is they need
You
to
get
in the
used
same
to them, but
spot.
you still
That's where the
do
deer cross.
see them. I mean, they become a landmark at times, like when you're driving down I-15, they're past Kanosh, there's somebody who's got some steel horses out there in their field. And I always see that. I'm like, oh, we've passed the horses now. So I'm closer to Cedar City. It becomes a landmark. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I don't know,
Not-
maybe it's
try
no
not
big deal
to-
because it's $2,000, but when it comes back next year and it's $50,000, they want to.
It might be able to be a different story then. So,
I like what Island Park does. They'll paint elk and deer tracks on the highway and that'll get your attention when you're driving at night. You're just like, makes you more aware. Bear tracks and stuff, and that's super cheap.
Well, I've always liked the ones that have warning lights that are somehow tied to an animal crossing. It seems like we did that down on 89 down by Canab or something like that. Or maybe it's just a switch. It's like they split the switch on and off during the season. And I remember us talking about, because it's mostly tourist traffic down there, that it's different, but
yeah, I'm not sure down there, the new installations there by Eagle Mountain, they're triggered by wildlife approaching the highway. And so that's when the lines.
so it's not
the
a
lights will start flashing.
constant that people just learn to
Right.
ignore.
So the wildlife are pushing the cross button.
Yep, they walk up and they have the crossing button and they push it with their nose.
Wait, me?
No, they're sensors.
No, we paid
Is-
employees.
is,
there. Flip the switch.
Right. There's somebody at home monitoring at all times on his phone or his computer. Flip them on. I see a deer.
You could probably get that job hired out, honestly.
Oh,
Some kid in his basement.
You could probably have enough pay for performance plans to cover an entire year. Anyway. Okay, any other questions about these projects that are on this list that were funded through ECP
And
monies?
almost every one of those I had listed down, just like, no, I don't want any of them money going to them. So I'm glad they got taken.
Yep.
Because they're 100%.
Well, and some of these, especially like, in the Snowville area, wildlife highway mitigation study, those are much better suited to either ECP or our version of ICP money in the division to cover those projects more so than Habitat Council. So. Okay.
Wasn't the Sage Line Collaborative Fencing Project? But shouldn't that be on that list?
It was.
Well, it came to the group, so.
We did cover it. You're right.
Yeah,
forgot.
we had already talked about that one. So. Okay, with that, do I have
Another
a-
one Randy wanted to fund.
well, and that's another one of those, it's not a silhouette, but it's all of the fencing across the state, across all federal lands. I mean, it's a black hole. If that turns into a $200,000 or a $500,000 request, it'd still be a drop in the bucket. We just have to see how that would pan out. So,
I mean, if that one comes back next year, I'd like to see him and Makita together pushing some grand strategy.
So with that, do we have a motion to approve this group of projects?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, we want a motion
I'll
from
second.
Steve, a second from Tyler. All in favor, say aye. Thanks, Cody. Any opposed, say no. Okay. Motion carries. All right, thanks everyone on that one. All right. Next item of business. So we're gonna go into our budget discussion, and what we're really trying to do at this point is we look at everything that has been, all of the monies that have essentially been approved for all of these projects, I guess initially approved, but we're looking at the budget amounts that are actually available, and we have to decide what's gonna actually get funded or recommended to the director to approve, and what either falls on a short contingency list, or what is just gonna have to wait till next year or another project. Unfortunately, as is always the case, there are many more shovel-ready good projects than we have money for, both from not only the council, but WRI is the same way, other funding sources, ECP, ICP, you know, we'll maybe encourage looking at additional ICP money if possible. But this is the time when we kind of have to start making cuts. You know, it's the 2 weeks before the season begins, and we have to cut our roster. So there's some strategies of doing this, and we had met earlier, our team here, just to start talking about some of these strategies to help guide the council today on how we pare this down. And I think our first maybe the way to look at this is projects that either didn't get ranked very high in WRI and didn't get specifically sportsman group response or money from. We're pretty much thinking that we're going to recommend that this council let's pull those off the list. That's like the first cut.
What I went back and did is looked at the sheets that we got from the ECP meeting.
Yeah. And so if they didn't rank well in WRI and didn't have good response from conservation groups, they're just the likelihood of getting those funded is pretty low. So let's just pull those off the list.
So is that what the colors are on the HC request?
Yeah, so the dark blue are the ones that didn't rank really high in WRI and didn't have a lot of ECP. Some of them did have some, but not a lot. The lighter blue are ones that didn't rank very well, but did get a big chunk from ECP. And then the purple ones are kind of, most of them are fencing projects, but they're also kind of WMA infrastructure type projects. So I included the Central Region project as well as, what was the other one that was kind of different that I can't remember? It might have just been like the Hardware Ranch ones. Oh, East Canyon.
Yeah, the scanning has to go.
And then you had some changes to like the bio-based project and the acquisition. Maybe we should talk about those right up front.
Well, the bio-based project, I think we're just going to pull that one off. I mean, you can make a stretch of a, reasonable argument that it can be included, and I think it could. I just think that things are so tight. Let's probably leave that one off.
Did that get funding at all at the WRI? I can't remember.
I don't think so for WRI, no.
No, it didn't go through WRI.
Didn't go through WRI.
I thought it did.
It got ECP money. but
Oh, that's what, yeah, ECP, sorry.
But there's, and I'm not gonna rehash my arguments from last time, but there's better places to get that money from than here.
I agree.
and I think
I
what,
agree.
what Eric has said is that, maybe let it slide for a year until the species protection account money kicks in, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the plan. A lot of the data information there will be non-game data, although a lot of it's gonna be sport fish here, right? We hope sooner, and so, I think we'll still be able to accommodate that. This is just making additional improvements to make the transition process for data sets easier. And we'll look at other sources, other ways to do that. It is a priority. We need to have our act together as far as data goes. And, but in light of the things of the amount of projects we have here and the funding needs, it's probably best to just pull that one off
I agree.
for this year.
I'm okay with that. And then the Gordon Creek and holding acquisition has been reduced.
Yeah, so the original ask on that was 150 grand was what we estimated out. If all of the current landowners that have a parcel inside Gordon Creek accept our offer, it would cost us about 150. We have a bunch of offers or a bunch of people who have accepted our offer to purchase their property. But it's only coming up to about 32 grand of Habitat Council money that we're going to need. And so that one for now could be reduced from 150 to 32. And I think is 32 grand well spent. Any in holdings that we get purchased from within WMAs is just super important for us and creates so many less problems by having this acquired. And so that knocks some money off of the request there. It'll be important to move forward with that 32 grand on that one.
There was a WMA fencing project in the Northeast region that the aquatic section wanted to not fund in order to hit all of our other priorities. Was that taken off?
It was.
So that brings up another good discussion item is there's a lot of fencing projects and fencing costs have gone just through the roof. And it is important. These projects are important projects. But in a year like this, we're not going to be able to substantially fund them. And it sucks because the WMAs are important, and to protect them, we need good fence. And, but in light of habitat improvement versus fencing on our WMAs, I think what we're seeing, or our initial recommendation here is we're probably going to hold off on some of the fencing projects. Although when they come back, they probably will be even more expensive. I don't know. It's a trade-off, but it'll all be more expensive. And that's just
Gotta cut somewhere.
got to cut somewhere. And so there are a couple of fencing projects that they just have to get funded. The Blackhawk WMA, we have to.
We can't
secure
phase that
property.
one. That was one of my questions. I had written down. I mean, I looked through that and I get it and I understand it. And I know it's like 27.5, which doesn't seem like a lot, but
And
where it's some of the
Yeah.
other fencing
The
are
reason
like
that
phase
one,
4 or whatever.
yeah, the reason that the Blackhawk one was a higher priority is it's gonna be matched with 82 grand of PR.
yeah, and all the
So-
PR, everything in the PR column has been approved at this point. Anything that was not, I have removed.
So that's kind of the reasoning on that one. And then there was one of the other ones I'd like to see move forward. Go to the northern region, the dual fencing project. It's two projects. It's Cinnamon Creek and it's Swan Creek, I think was the other one.
74, 40.
Is it that northern region WMA fence?
Yeah, and so maybe what I'd like to see here, that's for 103, but Daniel, remind me how that, we kind of talked about that
There's
yesterday.
about 72,000 of that. That's for that Cinnamon Creek, hard line, keep access off of the WMA. And then the other portion of that was for the Swan Creek, very similar to what Zach was presenting today, trying to keep recreationists off the WMA.
Yeah,
So you could
so-
split them into two different, only fund one.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. If we can fund the Cinnamon Creek one, this one's important that we try to really limit our access through that has really become problematic.
I would really support you on that simply because some of the creeks has and will have an extremely high trespass issue.
It'll be a lot of pressure there. And then we also thought about, some of these projects we're not gonna fund have ECP money committed to them. And what we'll probably do is go back to the conservation groups and say, hey, you committed money here. We didn't get enough money to fund it. Would you be okay with moving some of that money over to this project on Cinnamon Creek and help us fund it there? And so,
That might reduce some of the Habitat Council.
yeah, either all the way down to zero potentially. So
Okay.
that's kind of what I would recommend on that specifically, but I don't know, we probably need to run through really quick just the lowlights of what this leaves off the list for fencing projects.
Yeah, let's start hitting things. Start taking things off the list.
Can I bring up something real quick? And I'm gonna bet this just sticks in my craw. I just, would you mind hitting the table? Tab. Table not approved.
Okay.
I am livid that this Northern Utah specialty position was taken off, that it wasn't given any PR money. And just out of the $1 million+ for PR, Upland got 8%. And then this project, where we already had a person hired, gets yanked from it. That's utter BS. It's completely unacceptable on my part. I can't believe that happened. I understand the southern one that rankles me not getting approved because it's a new thing that hadn't been gone through in the past. But this one is an established position that makes a significant impact. And then it got pulled after I got a grand 8%. It's just,
What,
I can't even imagine.
what's their position? What do they do?
It's a combination. Pheasants Forever actually manages this position, and they carry the vast majority of this cost. So it's not even a real employee, but the division controls them. And they work in the northern region of Upland habitats in the WMAs. When I saw this, I thought it was a mistake. And I went and double checked a couple things. I can't express to you how mad I am about that. That's just an absolute slap. With the money, and I know we're tight this year. I get it. And I know the PR came in low and it's been used for other things. I get that. And plus, if this had been known as an issue, I'll but guarantee it would have been picked up in the ECP meeting. I would have been shocked if we couldn't have gotten ECP money on that. And because it wasn't brought up there, because we didn't know it was an issue, this position is going to get dumped. I don't know how that gets justified for $17,000.
Any way to go back with some of the ECP money that's not gonna be spent on projects we're dumping? And get it?
I don't know. I was just gonna rat because I don't know what can be done at this point. But I thought that was a dirty trick, and that's just not.
I don't think it was
that's how
intended to be a dirty trick. We can look at it again and see if there's other ways that we can backfill.
I mean, it's got SFW money in it already. Expo money, 8750.
And the southern one, and like I said, this is the one I wanted to focus on, and the southern one was also nicked. And it has $17,000 in
It
curriculum.
hadn't started yet, so
But it hadn't started, so I'm not gonna go as crazy on it, but this one just, I'm livid about this one. That was just
I don't know anything
utter
about it.
disregard.
I don't know anybody in this room, even Cody is in the decision room when PR money gets funded, are they? I don't know.
No, but we also are responsible to like, I mean, the Chiefs rank these, Randy, and it's never easy. Like it didn't rank at the bottom. It also didn't rank at the top. And yeah, we have, I mean, you're right in a way. This one was, the commitment was up. We committed for 3 years, and the next commitment was the next 3 years. And so that's how it was evaluated. And I'm not saying we're not willing to revisit it, especially the northern region one. I think we'd be willing to have the discussion.
Yeah.
But I think fair.
There's other monies from other groups that want to make up.
I think it's unfair without knowing the commitments that we're under for PR to say it was a bad decision. I mean, we have some.
I will say it was an unfair decision. I absolutely
Maybe.
will.
Maybe, but like you also don't have to take responsibility for balancing the budget, and we do. So, like, we have some commitments that haven't all been made by us to come up with a lot of money. And so we have to take a really hard look, and we can't bankrupt the agency. It's a really hard thing. And even that said, like I'm willing to have the discussion, and I'm willing to take it back and talk with Ashley and say, hey, let's look at the northern region one again. I'm willing to do that.
We can commit to look at it.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't think. I just, if there's anything that can move the needle on this one, like I said, I get the southern one, kind of, but I don't get, this one doesn't make any sense to me. And like I said, if we'd known this was gonna happen, I think it could have been positioned and brought to the ECP meeting. And I would have been surprised if it wouldn't have gotten funded.
Well, Randy, I guess thanks for speaking up. It's good to hear that you feel that way. That helps. I'll tell you, man, like these positions have been weird. Some of them we expected funding from different groups, and then we proposed them. They're like, we don't want to fund that. So it's been, I mean, I don't know if you know what happened last year or not, but we proposed the similar thing in the southern region last year, and we had a group that was like, well, wait, we don't want to fund that. And it's like, what? Okay, I guess we're not on the same page, but it sounds like you and feel really strongly about this one, and that's good to hear.
Yep.
Well, and as far as I know, the groups behind this one were still supportive of it.
I think they were in the northern region. Yeah, I think you're right.
Look at it. So I appreciate that. If it can be looked at. And I didn't want to derail. I know we were talking about fences, but we're getting past the PR money and I'll say that it needs to be looked at how that broke up.
Yep.
So I like your passion, Randy. I'd rather have somebody with passion than somebody a lump on the log just sit there.
Well, and I appreciate you advocating for PR for some of your other projects that did get PR this year, so. That's good.
Colby, did you have another comment? You think you'd raised your hand already before we really dove in on this one?
Oh, yeah, there's a project I was looking at in, it was by that northern region fencing project that I was going to propose to the group that we just cut. And now I can't see it. Sorry. I got super excited. Randy created a lot of emotion in the room. It's probably a good thing.
It's probably on our cut list too, Cody.
So while we're on the northern region, one that I think, and it has, and
East Canyon.
it has upland money in it, but I think it's
East
crazy to
Canyon?
spend state game money on it, is that Gordon, it got mentioned, and that one absolutely needs to go away.
Which one?
The Gordon, Gordon Creek?
That's southeast region.
Northern
That's
region.
southeast.
Oh, is that South?
No.
I was thinking 50,
It's up by
52.
East Canyon. They wanted to put in that temporary parking lot and the
Yeah.
fencing and you have the
Golden
boundary.
Hills,
That's the Golden
Establish
Hills
it.
improvements, I think.
Golden Hills, yeah.
Yeah,
That
the
one's-
Golden Hills improvement, because we haven't even got, we may invest a lot of money in something up there and then have that portion of the WMA not even be ours. And so I feel like if there's one to cut, that's one to cut.
I've talked to Northern Region about that a little bit, Zach and Melissa, and was trying to get them maybe go talk to the state parks and say, hey, this is gonna be our parking lot. When you decide what piece of land you want, this isn't gonna be in it, so to speak. Because I did have a problem with that. I told Zach I was maybe gonna cut that, but then he pled his case to me, so. Not fun, you guys.
That one's on my cut list too.
So unfortunately, the rest of today is not gonna be fun.
Right.
There's hard decisions to make. And, you know, we all might be passionate about some of these, and we're all gonna have to give some, and that's just how these things go. But this year's particularly gonna be difficult, and we'll talk to our regions and hopefully they'll understand too. There's just not enough money to do it all, and all the costs are going up for everything from fencing, supplies, vehicles, people, that it's all going up. So,
Are we losing this one?
yeah.
Yeah, let's start taking things off.
Yeah, and I think the reason that one makes sense is it might have been just a little premature. There we already are having active discussions with state parks on what the configuration of their version of their side of the property is going to be versus ours. And so, let's let that one sit for a year or two, and then we'll come back maybe with a better, more solid proposal based on actual boundaries.
Are you gonna throw those all down here?
I'm putting them over on the table.
So if you want to go back and see them, they'll be on that.
And so while you were there, you mentioned that Northern Region WMA fence improvement, you only wanted to fund the Cinnamon Creek portion.
Yeah.
So let's reduce that to 72,000.
Are y'all okay with that?
Yeah.
And that might even go to zero. We can get some of the conservation group money.
Do you want to take it to zero then? Because we're gonna need to do.
I think that's the plan, is that
Let's take
basically
it-
that'll go to zero.
Let's take it off. there.
And I'm banking on that the sportsman's groups will want to pick up the rest of that to get that one done.
We got
Because
some hard math
it is
today.
important, and this is gonna be a tough one.
I'm just gonna highlight in the ECP Expo column, the ones we are gonna come back to the sportsman's groups for.
Okay, good.
I'll leave them on the approved list.
And then maybe an easy one, like in that central region Mule Deer. Can we just lose the rest of that? Because we already have sportsmen's groups that are saying they cover that.
Yeah.
Let's just lose that.
Yeah, I think I talked to him.
Which one's that, Randy?
That's the big pivot down there
Yeah,
on Santa.
No,
So I talked to him today, and I think that project still has some fleshing out to do. So I agree with you. They've got 357,000 from the sportsmen's groups. The sportsmen's groups, several of them indicated to me at that meeting that they would support that even further if it starts to roll and gets some momentum. I don't think it's going to get a lot of momentum this year. So I'm with you. Let's just give them that 357 from sportsman groups and see how that project is.
It's because that will cover some, and this is self-interest. So, full disclosure. We had paid, the couple groups have paid for some smaller projects inside it. That's not going to impact those.
Yeah, well, and just on this project, the region has done a great job of, we asked them to do more for Mule Deer, and even kind of outside the box thinking, this is an outside the box thinking project where basically we're putting water on the ground, we're growing stuff for deer. They've done their part. And so, you know, sometimes you have to be careful what you ask for because they'll bring it to you and you're like, okay, now we got to figure out how to make it work. And so that's what we're trying to do. And so
Maybe we can phase it without the ECP money.
yeah, I think that's what we're gonna
So, you
do.
know, and that's,
I agree. I don't know if Kobe has thoughts on this.
Yeah,
Either.
I liked where this is going. Pull the funding from Habitat Council. They got a lot of money in ECP and Expo. If we need to come up with some ICP, we will. But I don't think that I would hate to commit all this money and then get hung up in engineering or hung up in. So I think we pull it from Habitat Council, start moving forward. And if they end up in a situation where they don't have enough money, we'll have another discussion. Like, I think this is an easy one to cut. That's my opinion.
Well, it's more of a phase. It's more of a phase.
I'm supportive of it. We will help you. Don't stress.
It's a phase and not a cut.
It's not, yeah, it's not a cut. It's a let's phase into it.
So Robbie's online and he's raised his hand. And so I don't know, maybe you can also chime in.
Yeah, I totally agree with that decision, and I think that was a 57,000 that was identified for the other portions. Did we label that out? Does that sound right?
Yeah, I think so. I've got it noted on the ECP spreadsheet and I can detail that out. But yeah, the planting and the fencing stuff was paid for by the groups, and then there was the 300 that went towards the well and all
Yeah.
that.
Okay, perfect.
And so Robbie, we probably need to sit down with Eric Anderson and you all in the region and really figure out what this is gonna really look like 10 years from now. How many phases do we need to have on this? What is the end game on it, and really map it out good and that'll really allow us to continue to support it in coming years. So, and I want to do that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, just how things take time, I think 300,000 is a great start, so.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it forward. You, like I said, the region, you guys have done what we've asked you to do, and I appreciate that.
So another easy one, but small one, is the corners issue. What was the name of it? It's out of the Salt Lake.
I agree. That's kind of another one of those just to drop in the bucket.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
small, but I mean there's no reason to even consider that this year. In my opinion, and it's almost all my money, if I remember right.
Yeah, I mean, I was supportive of that, but if you're not,
I'm supportive of it, but they came in and this last I knew they hadn't changed anything, because I don't think it's appropriate for us. That 41,000 was for us to pay for the trespass fee.
Sure.
And
Yeah, that was
we
the
should be
bigger
paying-
problem that was happening there, was getting crosswise with
Yeah.
walk-in access.
And, you know, the seed part was like 6,000 or something. I'm doing this from memory. And I would be actually supportive of that, but as far as I know, they never came back with us to correct that.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
okay.
Okay.
Good.
There's kind of just the motion that happened on that one, if you need to refresh your.
Yeah, 'cause it's what I'm remembering. I just don't see the dollar amounts on it. So I really like this concept. But I think, you know,
Yeah,
so
I
if
guess-
anyone communicates.
You like everything though.
If they come back,
Does he? Does he really?
I can't talk for the people next year, but if they came back with that reversed, us paying for the seed money and then paying for the trespass, and then I think it'd be very appropriate.
Yeah, I think the way that these kind of projects can move forward is if it's for the implementation, but if there's a trespass fee associated, that's either got to either not be there or handled some other way. And that's how we can move forward with these kind of projects.
The only other thing that I have on this one is my struggle is they're picking areas that we need to have more information on.
Yeah, I
One,
agree.
make sure we have access to it, but two, I looked back at some of these areas and there's honestly like the pheasant population is
Yeah,
not there to.
If they're
spend money
in
there.
areas that are strategically identified, that these are areas where there potentially can be augmented populations, then that makes
Yes,
sense.
that's my only,
Yeah.
that was my biggest concern is that there isn't a population there, and I didn't want to spend money if there's nothing there.
So if there can be communication with this Pheasants Forever, right?
Yes.
If there can be communications with them to encourage them and just to make some tweaks, I would hope in the future something like this could happen.
So the way I see this one, Randy, is that we encourage them to go work with our walk-in access folks over the next year to help make the access portion work with our access portion, unless they want to fund it completely. And then we would love to see it back for the seed mix portion as much as they can get. Like if they can get every landowner in areas with pheasant habitat to sign up, like we'll pay for all the seed they can handle. Like, so I think if we could get that message back of like a good project, we need to do something here. Could you work with our walk-in access program just so it merges a little better? Then we can help fund it, and we have money for that. We would love that. I like the project.
And to piggyback on that, Covey, if it's possible, because I know Pheasants Forever does this in other states, if they would handle the access portion instead of us, because we pay this, Utah pays $1 something an acre. No one's going to do that. But if Pheasants Forever could do that under their program and pay more money, that's going to open up more of this land than we ever will.
Yeah, that's a great point. If they want to do a different access program than what we have, they probably need to get chapter funds to do that. So
yeah.
And have it geared towards us strategic areas where there are existing pheasants or where we're trying to augment populations.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that makes tons of sense. So, okay.
hey,
All
I got another one to cut if the group's open to it.
Go for it.
There's one in Central Region. Sorry, it's the.
And Rob just shivered.
Sorry, Robbie. There's one in Levan.
Come on, Kobe. You gotta know the numbers.
I can't remember the number. I can't remember everything. I should have written down the number when I read it. I'm sorry. Robbie, which is the Levan project?
Don't tell him, Robbie. Don't tell him.
Levan.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, the sand pitch one.
Yeah, Levan.
No, not sand pitch.
No.
Not that one. Well, we can, the work on Levan is part of the sand pitch.
I say if Kobe doesn't know.
No, it's not that one. Is there? I'm not seeing it on your list.
It's the one with a lot of private on it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that one.
Oh, and then it's that one, probably.
The sand pitch. No, sand
I don't
pitch is a
remember
good one.
this.
The
ranked real
project
well.
is mostly on private.
Does that look right? What you're talking about?
Zoom in real quick and let's see what the land ownership is. Or
Yeah, that's all private.
yeah,
This one, Kobe, is in phase 3. We're burning it right now. It's got a ton of support. It's got a lot of support from Fish and Wildlife Service, Forestry, Fire, State Lands. It ranked really well in WRI. I don't think we need to cut this one yet. Maybe we talk about this at the end of the
Let's look at the
meeting.
numbers again.
This one's not on my cut list.
there's just not a lot of access for public, I guess. Like I'm all about WI crossing borders and everything like that, but yeah, and I guess maybe most of the funding on this is through WRI, but yeah.
It is. They
Yeah,
just
it's
became a
almost $1 million
CWMU.
project that we're asking 40 grand from us, so.
Fund the rest of it then, Tyler. It's a great WI project. Fund it and let's stop asking for Habitat Council money.
I know, it's only a sixth of my budget.
It,
Fun
it
six.
is, does have a CWMU on it. Cody.
Yeah. Well, not a lot of public access on this one. That was my rationale for the Habitat Council money or the suggestion.
But it's summer range. You want us to do summer range, right?
I want us to do summer range. I just want Tyler to fund that other 40,000.
Yeah, that takes my funding from 950,000 to 990.
So Tyler, are there any just absolute no-goes? I mean,
Yeah, I've got a lot. Once you guys are done sniping, I've got the shotgun ready to go.
well, so maybe, is this the cart before the horse? I mean, if there's some that have a lot of WRI money that are no-goes from your guys' perspective, why would we keep them around for the habitat money?
And maybe
Because
that,
we're always a small percent.
and maybe that's looking at the dark blue ones.
Yeah.
Do we just want to start at the top of the list and go look at the dark blue ones?
I mean, if Cody wants to take this one off, we can take it off and then maybe put it back on later.
Well, I maybe stick it down on the list of.
Well, it's not on your
Further
list of
funding
low
from
priorities.
ECP. I mean, it's a summer range
Tyler.
project, so.
I'm the only one that felt that way, and it was based on access. So just forget it. Like I'm good to lose sometimes.
Okay.
I'm used to it. Like I was a big game coordinator for 5 years. Like it's fine, man.
I mean, if we're in the sniping phase, I've got a big one to snipe at.
See what you got.
592. It's not the northern region, it's southeast. So just another big fence project that,
Robbie looks relieved, so.
good project, want to do it, can't do it this year.
Is anybody on from the southeast region?
I don't see someone on from the Southeast region.
What I want to know, because I don't disagree with Tyler, it's hard to see that $193,000. What I want to know is, does not having that fencing affect our ability to continue to irrigate those fields and have it be, I mean, so if anybody knows where Gordon Creek is, like that area is probably the biggest wintering area for the Manti herd. Like, and you see what happens like on Sacco's property along between Helper and Price, and anything we can do to hold those animals up higher and not have them come down along Highway 6 and Sacco's property. And like, there's a lot of animals there, man. There's already a lot of animals that come down to Sacco's property too, and they're pretty tolerant. But if this is going to negatively impact our ability to continue to have those fields in crops, that's what I want to know.
So maybe Danny can chime in on this too, but my opinion is I don't think it'll curtail our ability to continue to work those fields and irrigate them, but there's so much trespass livestock in there that it's just so problematic. But I mean, maybe this one could be phased or just pushed off till next year.
So the fencing's up by Bob Wright area, which
Yeah,
is
you know
not
about
the main
it.
fields that probably most people think of up there. But it's up against private landowners,
Yeah.
just on the other side. The county also grades that road all the time, and slowly over time just makes our fence
Very
less high,
Yeah.
and the cows jump over the fence. That's what this fence is really trying to do, is keep them off the Bob Wright fields. They're not those fields as you drive up Consumer Road that, like drive right past, but so they're a little higher in elevation, I guess is what I'm saying, than right next to the Sacco fields, but
Do we irrigate the Bob Wright fields?
we do. Yep.
We're pulling in the deer, Toby.
I mean, I think it's a good project. It's $200,000 in a year that we've got to cut a lot. So I would just advocate pushing it to next year.
Yeah, I'm with Tyler. I'm with Tyler.
Other thoughts? Steve?
We gotta cut somewhere, and I liked all the projects, wasn't bothered by any of them this year, really. We're saying something's gotta be done, sorry.
Don't, we want to send the message that it's a good project. We just want to push it to next year. And let's remember this is a council next year and make sure we prioritize it, knowing that it's going to be expensive.
And maybe next year do some phasing instead of full projects if we're low on funds again.
Yeah.
I think phasing.
Okay. You good with that? Drew, you good with that, the fish? With the ducks?
I only had one project needed cut. Let's cut.
Anybody else
Good job.
have the one project they want to cut before I make everybody sad?
It's not a project, but it's one that I want some money removed from.
Okay.
It's up north, and it's a mighty one, but I don't see I see almost zero impact on up one that's 73, 74.
It's a northern region.
Yeah, northern region. Now something's changed. I write down the wrong thing.
Are you talking?
Oh,
about-
no, I wrote down the right one.
You want money taken off of that?
I see, this is me, for Upland.
You're saying
I
take
see.
off 11.4.
Yeah, I'm saying take off 11.4. I don't see a 20% benefit to that particular mighty project to Upland. Is it a good project? Yes. Yes, it is. So I'm just talking my world right now.
And have it put on waterfowl.
I
No,
would
or
take
just
it
remove it.
right now. I mean, it needs to go.
I think that's fine. I think we're to the point that
We'll do it for
if
now.
we want to switch in between, I think everybody's going to be a little over except for Drew anyways. Or all stealing from
So I'm
Drew.
not
at this
being
point.
petty, but
At this point, I don't care. That's fine.
and the numbers are always right, but is the big game number right? It looks more in the hole than the total budget.
Never question the spreadsheet, dude.
It started.
Oh, because of Drew's money. Never mind. Yeah.
Where are we going next?
Anybody else got any
Brace
sniper?
for it.
Oh, well, let's do this.
Let's
as
go
a-
through the dark
Yeah, let's do the
blues
dark blues.
anyway first. Then we'll get the rest. of
So the
project
dark
highlights.
blues again are low WRI ranked, didn't get a lot of sportsman attention. So we might as well take our funding out because they're not going to get funded in the long run.
There are a couple though where the amount that is there is the remaining portion of the project, so you can decide.
So I think Gateway South, I'm going to advocate for us keeping that simply because it has that 20,000 in it. That's the mitigation money from Gateway South. So
Yeah, so when Gateway South, and the Trans-West power lines came through some of our properties, they did provide us some mitigation money, and this is that pool of money we're pulling from here. And we're just trying to upgrade those projects.
Is it possible to do that project with it wouldn't be as much, just use the money that they chipped in? Or is it after, do we have?
Robbie, go ahead.
Yeah, so if you guys are really tight, then we can just use the 20,000 because we have more money. We have more mitigation money than what we're asking for. We're just trying to phase that mitigation money over a few years. And so if you guys are really tight and you can't put any money to it, that's fine. And we can just do the 20,000 this year. So.
Thanks, Robbie.
Allison, help me. I missed some of the first when you talked about the different colors. if we were to cut everything dark blue and light blue, does that get us down to where we're not negative anymore?
I think we're actually ahead of the game. So when we gamed this out, yeah, it took all of those to get cut to get down there, but the sniping portion of the meeting helped us out. So I don't know that we're going to have to cut all the light blues.
What are we at? So we're negative 576,000 right now for big
Well, if we
game.
cut Gateway South, and go ahead and do that, that'll take us down to 541.
And there's still a couple big fencing projects on too.
What's you have something on, is it Spring City? What's the little,
So that one, they really want to get the prescribed fire done, but they would need more than 20,000. They need like 184.
What's the 732 on the big game versus the HC request? The red.
Where are we at?
What are you looking at? Up here?
To the right of that, right there. Yeah.
That's how much you're over.
And the sport fish mount is accounting for the difference. That's why the total amount.
Yeah, that's what I was
is less.
on a minute ago,
Thanks,
just else. And
So at
it's
this
just
point,
smarter than the rest of us.
We're only looking at that 541.
Yeah.
Because like I said, all still from Drew at this point. Thanks, Drew.
Robbie's getting beat up a lot. Is there other regions that have things?
Robbie had a comment about that, so I don't know.
So I realized that we have money from Ephraim Canyon Phase 4 that we're requesting to carry over to help with that fire, Allison. So I think it's not as critical as I was thinking.
What's he talking about?
Spring City, and that 20,000.
So he said it's not critical.
So we put in a request for carryover on Ephraim. It was like a phase 4 of Ephraim Canyon to do that burn. I forgot about that. So I think we have quite a bit of money as long as we get that carryover to do that burn this fall.
You carry it over?
I'm checking it out to see what the funding is.
Yeah, what's the carryover amount?
That'll happen in August.
It's around, it'll be around 200,000.
What's that project number, Robbie?
Oh, that's a lot of carryover.
It is 6584.
Just had one thing.
It's forestry fire and forest service stewardship
Drew's always a good sport.
and sportsman's, so it can carry over.
Lots of good feedback, so.
Okay, let's cut it then.
Yeah,
Let's cut that 20,000.
And comprehensive watershed, I think we will carry that over.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
They have full carryover authority.
True.
Statutory now. That's authority.
Thanks, Robbie.
Yeah.
Okay, so we move to the next region.
Yeah, who hasn't taken a hit? Needs to take one.
Okay, let's talk about Trail Creek, WMA fencing.
Remind me of the purple?
Fencing or like,
Oh, that's right.
Hopefully,
Thank you.
infrastructure for WMAs.
So I've got both the Trail Creek and the Wildcat fencing on my cut list,
it
unfortunately.
looks like Trail Creek, will that go? Cause they've got ECP money on it.
Yeah, what's the total on that? Can you slide over?
Yeah, you're right. Maybe we leave Trail Creek for now. I missed that that ECP money. So let's talk Wildcat, WMA fencing. No ECP money. That's just another one of those good fencing projects that we just push off a year.
Tyler, can I speak to that real quick?
You can, of course.
Yeah, this one is a real sensitive one. It's the neighboring landowner. It's a private landowner, and he grazes livestock there. And this fence has been in some disrepair for a while. And so we're really hoping to get this one. He's been a really good partner. He's committed to to maintenance for the life of the fence in exchange, and then helping us any way we can. He's been a good neighbor, a good partner that grazes, and he's done a really good job of keeping his livestock off the WMA. So if I could put in a plug for this one, I'd love to see it held on to this year.
Okay. How about
Let's
the,
keep it for now, so.
how about the, either the pivot or Stewart Lake habitat improvements? Those two are also on my list, unfortunately. Talk to us about it.
So we passed the pivot off from last year, so I was hoping to get it this year. The Stewart Lake, I'd rather lose Stewart Lake than the pivot. I really need that pivot to use our water rights.
Okay, let's lose Stewart Lake. It only had 15,000 from ECP, where
Yeah.
the pivot did get a bunch of support from ECP this year.
Agreed.
And what else did we have?
The other one was Marshall Trail on that one.
Can we go down to the page that shows what's been cut in different regions real quick? We know who to pick on.
Well, they're so wildly dispersed, and some regions just had so many projects this year, and others had almost nothing. Like Southeast, if I remember, had very few projects. We know who our spenders are, though.
Hey, yeah, Marshall Draw is also on my list. I did like it though, because it got 70,000 from ECP. So maybe talk to us about that one.
So that one is just trying to use some new herbicide and get some forbs established, mainly for mule deer. There's some elk, mainly down on Kraus Bench, but it's just a weedy area. There's a lot of just invasive grasses, and it's just a big mess. We tried some furrow seeding in the past, and this is Tori's project to use the new herbicide. It just slipped my mind. I can't think of it, but
Rejuvra?
Yes, Rejuvra. Thank you. To try that in a couple places where we have had some difficulties establishing the native vegetation, and but it's a good project. It's one we could bring back next year if needed.
Or can you use the 70 of ECP money and start it?
Sure. We could just scale it down to fit that budget.
Okay, I say let's cut that one then.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry, this is just gonna be rough. Probably should have warned the managers. Today's gonna be a rough day.
Okay, next region, Northern. I've got Pole Creek. It's a high rank project through WRI that scored a little bit lower, didn't get ECP or Expo funding. It's only $10,000, but this is kind of the strategy from this point forward. Probably won't get any WRI support.
Which one is it? Oh, Creek. Oh,
It's right on the border of Grouse Creek.
10 grand at ours.
Trying to, we'll get that valley. So that's not Marshall. They're trying to get some greenery back in that valley for potential turkey transplants, and take this year.
I mean, it needs 40 grand from WRI. It's only 110 points.
It actually needs 75.
Isn't that got?
It didn't get funding from SPA.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's just, if we put 10 grand, it'll just get orphaned.
Let's pull that one.
And Little Bear Logan, same situation there.
which one was that?
And this is a good project, but we're gonna lose good projects.
That's the problem. We're gonna be cutting some good projects.
I mean, this one needs over $1 million from WRI. It's not ranked high enough. I think it's gonna get into the funding. So
That makes the decision easy.
Okay,
Sorry, Zach, Melissa.
Southeastern.
Brad's on today.
Hey, Gordon Creek Watershed Restoration.
And you don't need to pull it up, but someone could just remind me. I don't remember this one.
Let's just pull it up.
Yeah,
Someone might remember.
I need to remember details on it too, so if, let's just pull it up.
And this went to Blue Ribbon as well and did not get funded in Blue Ribbon.
I think we ought to leave this one on. This is aquatics. This is Drew's money. He doesn't have a lot this year. Let's not cut his projects.
It's up like, Bob Wright, First Water, Second Water Canyon, up on the Manti. The W May, Gordon Creek W May is just to the east here.
I mean, I highlighted it because it's a medium in WRI, but Drew's money's paying for the whole thing, so I'm okay keeping that.
That makes it even easier. I love spending Drew's money.
Sorry, Drew. Okay, let's move on. The next one I had was Price River Improvements Helper for 20,000.
It's just a TU project.
No, this is Price, Helper City project.
But they were partnered with TU. Just, am I right in that?
I don't think this is the TU
I
one.
think it's river restoration.
I think this is right there by the Gelati Pond area.
This was them fixing some stuff
Right, okay.
since
The
the
river
fire
has
blew it
to be
out.
got
So this is one we could possibly ask for some fire money, see if it gets funded that way.
Yeah, but we've been funding this for how many years, which is great.
No, it's been a great project.
It's been a great fishery there, actually. You know. I understand it anyway.
It's also a great recreation project. And I think we did ask them to go to outdoor rec.
And I think they did go to outdoor rec.
Sure.
Oh, not cut any of Drew's money.
Okay, we can keep it on it.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, that's why the reason why it had a low rank in WRI and didn't get sportsman group money because it was more of an aquatics project. So that doesn't mean it's a bad project. It's just, it's a different flavor than maybe what that filter was trying to capture.
Yeah, I mean, it's got 375,000 through WRI as a request. It's a medium rank, so it's not going to get that, but it might be able to move forward with some of the rec money and this 20,000. Okay, Southern. Got Beaver South Creek WMA herbicide 58,905. Rank project through WRI. Still needs 110 from us. Or no, that funds the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we're just to the point now. We've got to cut stuff. And so this is me saying it's a low ranked project.
Gary's got a comment about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gary.
So I'll just jump in. These ones are hard ones, like everybody knows. But an herbicide project treating cheatgrass in an upland, it's never going to rank well in WRI. The honest truth is, if this project's ever going to get done, it's going to get done through Habitat Council. So it's a tough one. I get it, but this is the funding source that gets there. While I'm talking, though, let me just throw a couple of thoughts out there on the list that you don't have highlighted. Zion Migration Phase 6. I talked with Hal about that this morning. It did not receive any funding through NRCS, just the way the current federal administration is working. They're not optimistic that that's going to happen this year, and could use an additional year for a little better planning anyway. So that one is likely not going to happen regardless of what happens here. So I don't know if I can offer a trade there. Say I'll give up Zion Migration 6 and Beaver South.
I think that's
Cut that
fair.
too, Gary.
I think that's fair. That maybe that gives it life for another half an hour or
Fair
Well,
enough.
that's, I mean, I need to know
Or
though,
more.
Gary, does that mean you're no longer asking for the 190 from WRI for that one as well?
Correct.
There is the NIFWF grant. Gary,
That was a
on
decision
that.
we just. Go ahead, Daniel.
There is that NIFWF grant on there, which is the 190 match. that
Correct.
you're looking at, Tyler.
And that's in the same position. Who knows where those are really going?
But that's what your 190 for WRI is matching, the one to
So I
one
still am
match.
gonna have to come up with that.
If we get funded with the grant and we decide to accept it, then we need 1-to-1 match.
Can we accept it and use it the next year?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
They're
I
more than one.
Okay, we just need to have some more conversations about that.
Okay.
But if you're willing to
Let's
trade
trade 'em
Beaver
out.
South for Zion right now, let's do it.
Okay. And then the other thought, and I'm not up to speed on fast track ideas, or Curtis and I did talk about Beaver South Creek and the fact that he's planning to use Plateau and Rejuva. We could pull that one off by July 1 if there's funding available to fast track. And I don't know if he did or did not put that on the fast track list, but
I don't think you did, Gary.
it's something that's an option as well, is what I'm saying. So
Okay. That's all I got without really getting to the hurt part of the meeting.
But you didn't talk, you got Parker Mass Supply Treatment up there.
This one, and actually I'm teasing you because I was gonna bring it up. I really, really like this one. And the arguments I'm gonna make for it, one, it's multiple phases in, but we want to do everything we can to truly enhance this sage grouse. And this is the premier sage grouse area in the state. And that's specifically what this project's for.
Do we know if this one got the NRCS funding, Gary?
So that's the point I was going to bring up, is the one NRCS funding that's still moving forward is SGI. And I haven't heard specifically on this one, but SGI is the one that is funding projects still this year right now. So I would assume it is. So
I mean, that's why I did not have this one on my cut list.
it's largely funded through that SGI, and this just finishes it out. So
Hey, Allison, did I know it's not what we're talking about, but SCI wasn't at the ECP meeting. They spent their money.
Yeah, we met with them yesterday. Yeah, and that's reflected on here too.
Okay.
Okay, we'll keep that one on for now too. All right.
Maybe talk about Hartstraw and Henry's, having them use
yeah.
what they have and
So Hartstraw and Henry's in the Southeastern both had substantial amounts of ECP money. Both of them ranked medium through WRI. So yeah, as Allison mentioned, we would just let those funding sources from the sportsman's groups ride and pull all Habitat Council, and it won't get any WRI support either.
Is that enough money to do some of the work with the ECP?
TJ's online now. TJ, can you speak to that at all?
I can. Sorry, I'm late. As far as Henry Mountains, yes, we can definitely phase that work out. The BLM has some funds that they are also bringing to the table, and I'm not sure if it's reflected in all of this just yet. But either way, that work is easy to be phased. So we'll move forward with whatever we can get. Hartstraw, that one will be a little bit harder. I mean, we'll do something. as long as they'll let us keep that much money and we'll phase it out. Economy of scale, the more we have, the more we can do. But I'd hate to see that one just get completely dropped. I definitely think it's a project we need to get some momentum going on and get something done.
I mean, we wouldn't drop Hardstraw. That's something we need to hear from you. It's basically a bullhog project, 938 acres at 450 an acre. We probably have you put the bid out and get as much as you can with the funding that the sportsman's groups have put on it.
Right.
If that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense to split it in half and you want to pull it and ride next year, then that's something we need to hear from you.
I think let's move forward with it. Let that money sit on it, and then we can see what bids come back as. And if at that point we can't get it done for that 450 an acre, if it turns into more than that, then we can pull it at that point, if that's acceptable.
Okay, let's pull them both off then. All right.
Thanks, TJ.
We still got to find $200,000 unless Eric has changed his mind about over allocating.
All right. I think we're at a point where let's start to appropriate some ICP.
Okay. Help us out then, Colby.
I
want me to
want
tell
to
you
know
what's
what projects will be most beneficial for conservation permit species, and let's go from there. But any conservation permit species, the money could be spent across them. So anything from turkey to big game.
Those would be the
And
light colored.
Kobe has his generosity hat on right now. I can see it. Right?
Yeah, I mean, so at the end of the day, if we're $200,000, we can cover that.
Okay, I mean, I've got.
How about 3?
We can cover closer to 3 probably. We'll cover 270.
Okay, well, that's the light blue. So wildlife, big game, which light blue ones are your favorite? Or we could look at the rankings from the region.
That probably helps.
Or, I always look at the sportsman's money too, see which ones they really supported, like that Soldier Creek one right there. 100, they put 140 into that. That 12 mile, they put 197 into that.
Let's cover those.
All 3 of those there, I think, are good candidates for ICP.
Yep, cover them.
You guys like to make things difficult for me.
We'll give you time.
Steve,
Yes, sir.
I think SCI stepped up and covered that one up in Logan a lot to where the ask is way down for Habitat Council, right, Daniel?
That's reflected in the spreadsheet already.
So, I mean, what I'm saying is let's cover the rest of that one.
Which one is that?
Yeah, you tell us which one you're talking about.
Bear.
It's in Pole Hollow, but they named it Bear River.
The little
something.
bear.
That one up yonder by that creek stream thing.
Is it? Did we already remove?
I thought we removed it.
Little Bear.
Yeah, it's a little bear. It was taken out.
Just for your information, SCI,
They put their money on about 2 projects.
How much
Three
money
projects.
did they put on the little bear?
they did not put any money on Little Bear.
Is it a different one, Kobe?
Which one are you talking
So
about?
they put money on Salina Creek, Book Cliffs, and northwest D1 wildlife.
Daniel, they didn't cover anything on that little bear.
They didn't. No.
Jeez. What have we got left on that little bear?
Over $1 million.
All right, never mind.
Let's phase that one out next year, make it a little smaller.
Yeah, Little Bear's not gonna happen.
Ever?
Not this year.
Oh.
And just cut it. Just cut it so that we're not looking at it.
We cut it already.
Maybe. Maybe.
So back up in Central, did you cut those 3 out? 12 12 Mile, Strawberry Ridge, and Lower Provo.
Oh, and Lower Provo?
Oh, wait,
No.
Soldier
so-
Creek.
Okay, we got more to spend. Who else needs help?
we got
Raft River.
East Bear, Raft River.
They both got money from ECP, so let's cover it.
What's the difference between that?
The basement.
What about the Hardware Ranch one?
How about Burnt Beaver?
Does that still need money?
Each 50.
Cover it.
And what about the other Hardware Ranch ones?
We're there now, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're done.
Okay.
Kofi, does that leave me some wiggle room?
Oh, wait, I still got something.
Well, so Randy, let's listen, because we're going to have conversations about, well, in that position, I've been reading about some of the stuff on it, try to ask some questions. It does do some turkey trapping, which leaves us, that's why I didn't go a full 300 with ICP. So is there any upland left? It'd be nice if Randy had 5,000 to possibly apply to that position if we decide to fund it. Can we free up 5,000 for Randy?
There's 5,000. It's not in Randy's column, but that's okay.
Okay. All right. If we got 5,000 freed up, then we're in a good spot.
Okay, I still got one more thing that's gonna mess things up though.
Tyler.
So, I'm sorry.
We're already in the block there. What
I know.
are you talking about?
This is just a conversation I want to have with the group. So 7455.
No. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
This is the Central Regions Riparian Restoration. So it's basically the beaver projects that all the regions have. And I don't know why this ranked so low in WRI this year. It came through as a medium. These are almost always high ranked through the region. So it makes it easy for me to fund. I don't know. I always advocate for these. I really like these beaver projects. I think they're the cheapest way we get restoration. I'd love to see every region come with these. I can fund all of them, but this one.
And they tend to not have the BDA water right issues either because they're.
So what are you looking for to
So
fund it?
I need this one to be 31,000 instead of 11,000 to fully fund it.
So if I can come up with the 11,000, can you fully fund it?
I need 20,000.
Actually, this amount here.
Can you give me just a minute?
Sure.
How much was that? So we do have that amount of PR that was on that project before. I guess I can look it up in my.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand. The amounts are different on your sheet and I'm looking at the enhancement request sheet and it's saying that it needs 46,000 in PR is what it's asking for. So it's not asking for 17. Your sheet said 17,000 in PR, but that's not what it's asking for. It's asking for 50,000 in PR. It's really asking for 150,000 in PR.
Oh, because that's not right.
Yeah, so the ask is completely wrong. Like it's asking for a lot more in PR than what it says it is.
Okay, you have 20,000.
Is that going to be ECP or?
Yeah,
Excel?
yeah, easy, yeah.
Okay.
I have to do more digging, but I will right now just put it in.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And for central region folks, don't let that rank medium again. I don't know what happened this year, but
Yeah, I don't know either. Thank you so much.
okay, that's it. That's all I got. Slaughter is over.
Oh, that's gonna be worse.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be worse too. I actually had a lot
We
more.
appreciate both the ECP and the ICP support. That really reduces the pain quite a bit. It's an amazing thing that these partnerships we have, that we can do it this way. And
So how much
it's
ice
how we
did
make
you
it work.
this way?
210.
And is there still a little more ICP for later, Kobe, or is that it?
I don't have the amount for
Yeah,
that.
I'm holding back a little bit, but yeah, if we got in a spot where we needed a little bit, I'm okay. Yep. I could come up with another. I mean, we could push it to 300, but I'm looking at the position that Randy's talking about and seeing what portion of that might qualify as some ICP, and if we want to fund it, if we want to lower that PR burden or what we want to do. So I'd rather not commit it right now, but it's there if we need to have a
Let's
discussion.
talk some more, Kobe. Kind of after, I guess, and we'll do some more horse trading.
I'm gonna say something about, just thinking about Randy's situation and the position and that conversation, and just Upland being as restricted as it is for funding. What would help me, and maybe Randy too, is a more clear understanding as to how all this is going to come together someday into some benefit to Upland Game. And right now, in my mind, when we receive these projects, especially for Upland Game, it's really just scattered. And I don't see how one project in let's say Tooele is going to benefit Upland Game, and what the final resting place is for Upland Game 20 or 30 years from now. What we're trying to do, what species we're trying to do it for. What I've heard over the past several years is a lot of turkey projects that are, taking Upland Game money, and I don't know that you can kill a turkey. They seem pretty resilient, and as an Upland Game hunter, I just don't see them as Upland Game. I don't know what they are, but if you were going to take a guy with a dog and say, what would you hunt with that dog, it wouldn't be a turkey. And I think that, if we're ever going to get to some place, and it goes to the position that we were talking about today, I don't know what the long-term goal of that position is or was. And, we have in the aquatic section a split position with TU, and that position is a 4-year position. TU has what they're going to get out of it, and we have very specific, measurable goals for that position that we pay for. And when that 4 years is up, or those goals are met, that position is negotiable.
But
And-
so is this one.
What's that?
This one that Randy is fighting for is we meet on a yearly basis with not only the managers that are overseeing that position, but with it's Remington now. It was Wyatt, and we gauge what he's done within that year. And at the end of 3 years, which we have done, Pheasants Forever and SFW has decided that they have met the requirements to renew that 3-year contract.
Then why did it surprise Randy today?
It surprised all of us, not just Randy.
Yeah,
Like all of a sudden, it was, I didn't know it had been cut either, and neither did Al Iden with Pheasants Forever. None of us knew it was cut until I got a phone call from Heather saying it had been cut. So it wasn't a conversation that Pheasants Forever or SFW has had with anybody, and we're the two that are matching that.
Well, it's still, that those conversations need to be had. Those goals and objectives need to be carried and then renegotiated at, in a safe place, whatever that is. And I'm just saying that, really, if you take that and you take all of the projects that I've seen for Upland Game, I don't know. I can't tell you what the benefit is going to be. As an Upland Game hunter, I don't know what species we're trying to benefit half the time. And the ones that we seem to be trying to benefit, I don't know they even kill a turkey. I mean, from drought doesn't seem to kill them. I just don't know, and so I'm just trying to figure out in my own space where we're going, what the end game is. And I'm having trouble. So needed to say that.
And I'm going to piggyback because it's Upland. I'm going to piggyback on that. And now I'm going to drag COVID back in on this. This is why I've been harping on all the biologists get special training for aquatics, right? We set aside money every year so that all the field biologists can get some extra training in aquatics because they're targeting those. We can and should be doing that for Upland for the biologists as well, because the same thing, and you've all heard me gripe about it. A project comes through, oh yeah, that's going to help Upland by 20%. Why? What in that project has been set aside to target a species? And it's never there. Just like, well, there's blues around there. What are you doing in that project specifically that's going to help a blue or a ruff or whatever? And that's my frustration. I think we can and should do better as a state. The only area of opportunity we have to grow hunting is upland. It's not big game. Big game's always going to generate the money, but it's not going to grow.
I see a lot of vegetation popping up in these Lachlan scanners, Randy, though, that's going to benefit grouse.
But
they're not being able to answer. I mean, you ask questions. I'm not going to argue with Randy. You ask questions from the biologists, and they really don't know.
No, it's always like, well,
I've seen
something's going to help. What and what are you doing specifically in that project to help? And there's never an answer to that, and it just frustrates me to death.
I think it's part of the process, though. I think like Allison basically makes up the percentages before the meetings, and a lot of times the biologists show up and they don't know that they've got 20% coming from your fund. So that's a training issue for our biologists. They need to make sure that they look at their Habitat Council breakdown before they show up and present the project and speak to each of those funding sources.
I wish that I could just put in Habitat Council and then assign them to go in and put the percentages, but
that's the way it should be.
yeah.
But again,
But don't they put in the species though? I mean, they're putting in the species, so they should be able to say,
And that's how Allison's getting the percentages.
correct. So they should still, whether it's percentage or not, they should be able to speak to the species that they have listed, not just I've seen one.
Yeah, and it's not just the percent, and I know I bitch a lot about the percent. But it's not just the percent, it's just what are you doing for that species?
No, you're right. This has been an issue for as long as I've been on the council. There are not enough projects that are being driven by upland game. That's the primary purpose of the project.
One thing to look into, upland, you can do predator work, big game, you can't.
You and I have a different view on that. I wouldn't spend a dime on it. I wouldn't spend a dime on it.
Birds there are, now that Nuke has been flying for 5 years.
There's no studies. But I won't get sidetracked on that. But it still comes back to there needs to be some focus. And it just frustrates me to death. And I hope the next person bitches as much or more than I do, because it can be improved. And I really would like, I really hope that education gets put together.
Randy, we spent years having annual upland game trainings. We probably haven't had as many. One of the problems is the focus has been like, how much can you get done? We've written an upland game management plan that does exactly what Drew was just saying. If anybody wants to read that, they can. It shows exactly what direction Utah's headed, what they're trying to do for the species. And Heather did that. But yeah, I mean, Jason used to provide some really good trainings when he was upland game coordinator. We did them annually, and it did help people think more about upland game. And it's probably something we can dive back into and start again. There's some really good stuff out there. We also have a lot of work that happens under the WMA budget that, I mean, you have guys like Zubek and folks like that work a lot in upland habitat. And the way the project is laid out, it's a disproportionate amount of upland with some waterfowl, but they probably don't take credit for it as much as they should at some of these meetings. So where we own the land that is upland habitat, we do a lot of work. Part of this is that you see in Habitat Council is like when we're working on our land, we don't own a lot of upland land. We own some, you know, but in proportion to the land that we own that is turkey habitat or big game habitat, like it's not, we didn't buy as much of that land through the heydays of that from the 40s to the 70s when we were buying land. So we do a lot. We probably don't take credit for as much as we do. Maybe we should do a better job at explaining what some of our biologists are out there doing. And the trainings aren't a bad idea. We've done it before. We did it for years. Every year we'd have a couple days of training, and it did help people focus their projects.
And we've talked about that with Heather as well, and she doesn't disagree with that either. I think, but I don't speak for her. But I mean, we have in recent years had, at least from sections, habitat section leadership, some additional emphasis for upland game. I think you've seen that come through with some of the projects. You know, Robbie's, you know, really stepped up and tried to promote a bunch of those, and others have too. And you know, but frankly, our really big emphasis right now is mule deer, and not to say that we're de-emphasizing anything else. We're not, but
no, and I get it. And there are, without a doubt, when you guys made the change a few years ago, where 4 small projects or 1 big, I think that was 3 years ago. I've seen the difference, but let's all bear in mind, if we're looking long term, the only hunting sport that can grow is upland. Nothing else is going to grow.
Just maybe a relatable frustration of mine, you know, in the aquatic section, we have, I don't know, 12 conservation agreements for species that were petitioned to list at one point. And that list of 12 has been in existence since, I don't know, 1995. To date, we have actually reached conservation goals on 1 species, 1 plant. And the reason we haven't done any better than that is we don't have the right conversations. You know, we have conservation partners that we don't collaborate with. We just let them do what they're going to do. We go do what we're going to do. We put a lot of money and effort onto the ground. It's not focused, you know, so we end up just taking a shotgun approach to all 13 species every year. And the result is a little bit of work everywhere instead of hitting what is the highest priority species, doing enough work to reach conservation completion, and then moving on to the next one. And, you know, the change that we're making this year that you're going to see in the Habitat Council is all of our partners are going to be in one room talking about what our #1 goal is for that year or that next 5 years. The projects that come before Habitat Council and Blue Ribbon will reflect that. If there's a partner that comes in and they present a project that hasn't been through that conservation team effort and isn't prioritized #1, it shouldn't get any funding. You know, the work needs to be done on the species that we need the most work done on and put them to bed. And, you know, so those are the kind of things I just think, you know, in the upland game world, maybe it's the same thing. You know, maybe it's a conversation about, you know, where we're trying to do the work and where that money should be put, and not spread it across the entire state, but really focus on an effort and do something that's beneficial, you know. So Maybe I'm just frustrated today. Maybe that's what it is. But anyway, thanks for listening to me.
Nope. So noted. That's good strategy, I think. Okay. We take a break for a few minutes. We didn't.
Sure. Yes.
We didn't do one earlier, so let's break for about 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll come back and finish this up. Okay.
Question for you.
everyone online for sticking with us. So we've worked through our budget situation. We're essentially to basically at zero, where the amount of money that we're sending to our director's office to approve is the full amount. We've allocated the full amount. We're $0 essentially over that amount. And that's what they've directed us or asked us to be at. And so we appreciate the ECP infusion. That's just huge help. I mean, over 6 million was I guess committed here, 2 or 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And it's just an amazing partnership, and other states are envious. Other states are angry and jealous. I don't know, but that changes how we do business a little bit, but it goes out on the ground, and I think between our staff and partners, we all work hard to make sure that there's good projects that are being reviewed and that we fund. So before we jump off of this, any other questions or things that anybody wants to talk about the budget and where we're at? Like,
not so much our budget, but there were 2 projects that went through the political council also. Can I just ask if those got funded? 7613.
Yes.
It did.
80,000.
And 7403.
It did not by blue ribbon, but we picked it up.
Okay.
And the other one that they funded was the Strawberry River Restoration, 7371. So they only have 2 on our list.
okay. Any other questions about budget and what will be sent for final approval from our director's office as far as this council goes and these numbers? Okay. All right.
Do a motion.
Thanks, everyone. Yes. Need a motion to approve our
I just got
final
a
budget.
question on Blue Ribbon. Did they even hear the snowplow? Are they still anti-Strawberry River snowplow?
It was presented, yes.
They just don't like it still.
No.
It flip flops back and forth.
I know. I just wondered where they're at now. Cracks me if they don't like that project. I think that project's awesome.
I'll make a motion to approve the current project.
I second. Okay, got a motion from Randy to approve. Got a second from Drew. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, the motion passes. Again, thank you for all of your time to do this, and it really is much appreciated, and have such involvement, not only on the ECP side, but from you non-staff representatives spend a bunch of time. You're also understanding, the conservation group side. That just is much appreciated. I just always, in spite of a tough day of budget manipulation and cutting and refinement, it's an amazing day. You got this big list of projects that we're going to fund, and most of them, are going to move forward. Stuff kind of can get canceled and whatnot. Stuff happens, but this is amazing. And it's amazing to talk with our colleagues from other states, and they sometimes their jaws just hit the table, like how much we're funding and how it comes about. So many partners, and so anyway, thank you again for working with us on this. So the last thing that we really need to talk about is a tour. I don't know, maybe Daniel, remind us where we've been, and did we have things in mind? Do all of you have something in mind you'd like to see based on the proposals that not only that you've seen today, but that's good work that's going to be happening over the next year? But think about maybe what we've done over the last year or two. If you want to see something that's been implemented, have you had thoughts about that?
Where we've been, last year we went to Thistle Creek. The year before that, we did Cinnamon Creek tour. Monroe Mountain.
Monroe was awesome till the road washed
Huntington
down.
Creek, we went up there 4 years ago. So Strawberry River, for that. Beyond that, probably most, everybody
Yeah,
else is
nobody
not on the
here would've
council
been
at
there.
that point, so.
Me and Drew.
Yep. Unfortunately, I was. I'm still here.
Yeah, there's no off ramp, you guys. Sorry. Okay. Any ideas or thoughts on what y'all want to see?
So odd thought, but it's not really a project yet. Is that new? And I just forgot the name of the property, that new piece of property, the northeast section.
Oh, the Dow Cook property by Phil Pico.
Yeah. Are there active projects around there that could be incorporated into that? And maybe that's not good because it's just property that. we
So
just
yeah,
bought.
Pat heard that. He's online. Hey, Pat, can you speak to that?
Sure. There's no active projects on that property yet, but it is a cool property and we could do a tour up there and it would be nice to bounce some ideas off of everyone in the group of as far as restoration projects go. So that would be a good tour. That would be most of the day, but we do have some other properties around there. Some other things we could go look at, the stuff at Sheep Creek, the stuff at Cedar Springs Marina, the new walkway they got out there. Just some other division properties. There's the Beartop WMA up there. Browns Park is kind of nearby, but yeah, that's we could definitely put on a tour up there. So.
Yeah, Phil Pico or the Cook property is amazing, and it's just an amazing story of how it came about and how we got to be able to acquire it. So, okay, that's an idea.
There's a bunch of aspen stuff nearby too.
And I'll throw it out to the habitat managers that are online as well. You guys got ideas or suggestions in your region?
Gary?
I'll just throw out there, I don't think it's for sure, but it's looking like Lynn Zubek is planning to retire in December. So this would be our last opportunity to grab a look at his properties through his lens. And not saying it's the one that we should do, but it's an opportunity and it could be a last opportunity. That would be looking at things like Bicknell Bottoms, Redmond. I don't know if we want to look at Clear Lake or not. That's just a sad story right now, but there's multiple properties that he manages that would be an opportunity.
Okay. Here it is.
Eric, Drew, do you guys have someplace you've been? You're more in the know than we are.
I don't know, I'm
Projects
feeling
that are
just
going.
really open this year.
I mean, there's a lot of things I've seen before, like, we've seen Zubek stuff before, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing that property. That Pico property.
Strawberry River's shaping up. I mean, they've done a lot of work out there.
And that could be something that is see Strawberry River, and I don't know, Phil Pico's quite a bit farther away from that, but
Book cliffs, maybe.
Yeah, done the books.
Been the books for a while, and that's
Done
a
a lot of work done
that's
out
a
there.
separate piece that's interesting.
That'd be another nighter.
The last time we went out there was when we looked at like the new road and the underpasses and stuff. So that's been quite a few
Tech
years.
council out there, yeah.
Yeah, it
We
wasn't
stayed the night at one of the
because of the
cabins.
new road.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of work done on the Book Cliff since last time we were there, for sure.
okay. Add that one to the consideration list here. So we have
Wrote down 4.
Phil Pico, Book Cliffs, Southern Region,
Bicknell Bottoms, Redmond.
Bicknell Bottom, yeah,
Strawberry River.
Redmond,
And they've done a ton of stuff with Bicknell Bottoms.
yeah,
too,
tons of
so-
stuff's happened there.
There's bridges and stuff.
Mhm. That's a lot of extra burning this year, right, Gary? But, what was the other one?
We have Cook WMA, Brickmill Bottoms, Redmond, Strawberry River, and
Oh,
Bookwood.
Strawberry River. Close. Any votes on those specifically?
I go to all of them. We have a new hatchery that we built down in Lois, so not saying that's a habitat project, but it's $50 million we're putting on the ground.
How much?
50 million.
Wow. You go.
Okay.
Want to do that one? No.
Yep. So I'm hearing maybe between Bicknell and Philpico.
Is there something to see at Bicknell yet?
What's that?
Is there something to see at the Bicknell one?
It's being worked on.
There.
They've torn it all up.
We got a bridge. We could probably arrange for having an airboat there or something to take people up the channel up the middle. We've done fire now 3 times, I think, since we kind of started the new habitat management plan. So it'll just show how things change over time and the advantages of the mosaic of age classes on the landscape.
Can we do that one in a day, or do we need to make that a day and a half deal?
Yeah, Bicknell.
It's
John.
John.
Long day. Maybe we can get Dennis Blackman to come down, spend some time with us.
You go up on Parker Mountain as well, see some of the stuff up there. You're a big
Cool. I've heard a lot about the park. I've never been out on there.
Never?
Been all the way around it.
Oh, man. Got to go.
I'm hearing it's a 2-day trip,
Really neat.
which I think would be great if you guys.
We need to go down there. High desert. Awesome area.
Okay. Should we do that?
Sounds good.
Okay. Now we need to look at dates.
What do you think of that thinking?
Southern Utah. Around.
I will put in a plug this, whenever, maybe next time we have a tour up to that Philpico property, I'll make sure that the council gets invited to that, even if it's not a Habitat Council specific tour, just because it's an amazing property. The story behind it's amazing. And
That's when the old boy sold to us.
yeah. And their family were all united. They could see that trying to chunk up the property to different members of the family was just going to tear them all apart. Like we've seen, at least for me, I've seen this 100 times.
Oh, yeah.
Families get into these long-term generational disagreements. Yeah, they often are estranged from each other because of these inheritance issues that come up. And this family all agreed they're just going to take the money, but they want to still have access to the property for hunting and whatnot. So they worked with us, and it's just an amazing story. And they were so good to work with, and a lot of credit to Pat and our lands team for developing that. And they were just amazing to have the foresight to do that and to not, to not try to just chunk the property up for their family. But anyway, so if you ever get the chance to go check it out, and it's just amazing place. So, okay, but we're going to the southern region, sounds like. Man, summers are just busy. Where do you want to
Any
start?
specific dates people are interested in?
Can I say not the last 2 weeks of June?
Okay.
Yeah, in June and July, maybe later July.
I have the 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st of July open.
That works for me.
Sweet.
That is the perfect time of year to be down there.
It will be muggy, that's for sure.
Anything in June, I want to enjoy it.
Yeah, let's try to look at that last week of June if we can.
That's the 25th and 26th of June open.
How about,
We got a
There's
Southern Region WRI tour on the 26th.
30th and the 1st.
you got Central Region on 24th.
yeah, 30th or first, because those last 2 weeks of June, I'm gone.
I'm gone on the last week of June also.
But just the 30th, the first.
What about the week before that? You got a WI tour on the 17th, but what about, yeah, it's stacking tours here. 18th and 19th of June.
I may be in Nevada then, but
I'm in Alaska the 17th through the 28th.
Isn't the 19th a state holiday? Where are you going?
It is.
not anywhere cool.
Well, the state holiday is on
Well,
Monday, is observed on the Monday.
Oh, you really
It's
are?
our day off.
Right.
And even though June
I
10th is the 19th,
I haven't looked that far ahead to see what I can off.
yeah, it's
So is
Monday.
it the 23rd that it's?
There you go.
What's that?
Is it, what Monday is it observed? The 23rd?
16th.
16th?
Yeah, I have it as the 16th. Yeah.
Yeah, only if it was on Friday.
How about the week of the 8th
Of July?
of June? Yeah. Because we're going down south. I mean, the weather's gonna
Yeah.
be amazing in June.
Week of the 8th.
I mean, 11th and 12th works.
That's tough for us. All we have, well, I guess if it wasn't Monday,
Oh, I wasn't looking for your schedule.
we have our division budget hearings are then. I don't know when what days yours is. Okay, so yeah, ours is on Monday too, so I'm not sure when Covey is.
You do got the board meeting on the 12th.
We have a board meeting, so that's probably not gonna work. What about, yeah, so we talked about the week of the 16th, so there's a bunch of people not available then.
The week of the 6th of July come up.
I'm not available then.
The whole week?
What's that?
The whole week?
About the following week, the week of the 13th.
Then too.
Yeah, I'm not available
There's
then
no
either.
reason I am.
What about,
My family told me I was going on vacation with them.
what about 22nd, 23rd? That's too close to a holiday.
Not like the end of August.
Ooh. Yeah, maybe that's where we're headed.
But like,
End of August, you might have a little better chance of cooler weather down
yeah,
there.
but like 27th, 28th of August.
I'm open. It's good. Also good. And come on.
I
Nope.
leave for Alaska on the 30th. I might be able to speak it, that's just 2 days I'm out of the office. Go for it and I will do my best to make it.
27th.
Danny goes for August.
How about like, I mean, how about like 26th, 27th?
Problem.
Or how about 19th and 20th? Still a little more heat maybe, but.
Cooler.
Cooler weather.
It's not gonna make much difference.
Yeah.
Let's just do like 26th, 27th.
Sure, I will try.
That'll work.
Okay.
So.
You gonna send an invitation out?
27th or
2 days.
Yeah.
Both.
2 days?
There's a Western Elk Summit those days. That's a waffle thing, right?
I hope.
On my calendar, so.
On what day?
It's on there. It's Monday, the 25th through the 27th, and I think that's being held up in Canada.
Would Kobe be?
You probably wouldn't have staff going in anyway. if that
Kobe
was-
would probably go in like-
Yeah, Kobe might be the only one that'd be affected by that.
He's not.
He's not here.
26th, 27th.
26th, 27th.
And then, Taylor, I can't remember who you sent me to last year. Can I make sure that I'm on the email list for the WRI?
So if you're on the list for one of the regions, you'll only get the email from that region. The best way to figure out when the tours are is our website.
Just go to the website.
Yeah. And then just let me know if you want it. And that goes for everybody. So we do 5 WRI tours a year. 3 of them are scheduled right now. June 17th, June 24th, June 26th, they're all scheduled. And the details are on our events page. If you would like to come to those, it's a full day, lunch provided, let me know. I'll make sure you get fed. But those are a good way to kind of see projects.
And the way you access that, if you're on our WRI page, If you click this About Us page, it'll kick you over to the other website. And we have events. And it'll show the events. And so right now we've got 3 tours there. We'll still have 2 more coming up, but they're not scheduled yet. So
That's when I'm in Alaska.
So what we decided on is Bicknell and Parker.
Parker, yeah.
Okay, Gary, you're good with that?
Yeah, and did you also want to, should I be working with them to look at the Loa hatchery while we're in the valley? I think you could do Loa hatchery and Bicknell in one day and then a day on the Parker and get everybody headed home.
So are we talking 1 day or 2 days?
2 days.
Okay, I'll make sure we arrange to have the airboat or Marshmaster there or something so we can let people see the property up close. I think it might have
And staying in Richfield?
What's that?
Staying in Richfield?
Maybe. I don't know, Gary, what would be your recommendation there?
There's a hotel in Loa called the Snuggle Inn. You guys can all snuggle in.
I want to stay in Lammy Cake's Airbnb.
I know, so I was just gonna say, Lemon Cake's got an
I
Airbnb.
don't know if he can hold all of you, but he can probably hold some of you.
Yeah, it's great camping down there that time of year.
Yeah, the Snuggle campground is beautiful. So.
Okay, so are you serious? The Snuggle Inn is a viable option?
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's a real deal. It's right by the grocery store.
Okay. So we'll be staying in Loa.
Cool. So you only made that for 1 day. You said that.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Oh, you know what? It would maybe make sense. We can just do the Fish Lake cabin.
Oh, yeah. Brand new one.
That actually would.
That's a good
It's
idea.
nice.
Let's do that.
It's not a cabin.
Fish Lake bunkhouse / lots of bunk beds.
Yeah. It's super nice. Good place to stay.
Yeah. That's all from Loa. So good place to base going to Parker Mountain off of too. So I will make sure that's available. If it's not, we'll kick them out.
Okay. We have a tour now. All right. That really finishes us up. Anything else, Daniel, Allison, Danny, Lisa? All right. Well, with that, I will thank you again for helping us out this year. It's a fun process. It can be hard sometimes. It's cantankerous sometimes. All of those things, awkward, whatever. What do you say? You know, but it's a great process, and we just really appreciate, especially all the partner help. Our staff get to present great projects, and we help them refine the projects. And this also helps them refine how they will bring us projects next year. So it's a good process, and I just really appreciate everybody and all of your time and effort spent with us. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm trying to think who, and you talked about you rotating off probably.
Damn it.
This
this
next time. I'm trying to think who else is. Okay, but you've been, you probably got.
Still going
Year.
on tour.
That's been 4 years.
Blake Scott.
That's the past 4 years.
When
This
the
is your
official
second year?
September
Okay.
1st.
4 years.
So,
Seems like about 2.
Been a pleasure, Steve.
Thank you.
yeah, we really appreciate it.
You too.
Yeah, both you, Randy and Steve.
And we're still members
Getting
till
rid of the two
September
passionate
1st.
guys to go off.
Thank goodness.
Hey, we were talking to you.
Well, it's been fun. It's been fun. It's good to get the outside perspectives from our standpoint, and you guys have represented your parts really well.
We get to pick who's coming on in our places, right?
We would take suggestions. The director gets to pick. Actually, the governor's office gets to approve whatever we send. So,
Oh, really?
yeah.
You're like, you got ruined by the
He didn't know you or I. That's why I got on.
So anyway, yeah, we'll get that process going here, later in the year, but, thank you again. Appreciate your efforts. That's all we have for today. Everything's set to roll. And, we'll see you all on a field tour. Or if you have other additional questions or things going on, you have questions about, feel free to reach out to any of us about that. Just really thank you. I really mean that. It's an amazing day to get to this point and you know, for us and our staff, and so just really appreciate it. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Done. It's undisputable motion. So rule, it's happening, non-debatable.